Hi, welcome to another video for physical science. In this video we're going to be discussing the inner planets. So as we look at our solar system, just so you can get some perspective of what the inner planets are, let me show you what all the planets and how they're organized in order. These are not to scale, but when we talk about the inner planets, we're talking about the 4 planets that are closest to the Sun. So that would be the ones that are highlighted in red. You have Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. And then the outer solar system is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So I'll make a separate video for those particular planets. So right now let's just discuss those inner planets. Okay? Alright, so we're looking at the first 4, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. These are terrestrial planets. Terrestrial coming from the Latin word earth, like tierra, terrestrial. They are all small, dense. They all have an iron core like Earth. They have a crust, a mantle, and rocky surfaces. Now, they're not exactly like Earth. They don't all have plate tectonics where the Earth or where the surface is constantly moving and changing. Um, at least there's no evidence of them being active in that way. Now, they do have volcanoes. For example, Mars has a volcano that is much larger than our Mount Everest. So if you can imagine a volcano even bigger than Mount Everest, and of course Venus has several volcanoes that are active, but we'll get into that when we get onto Venus. So these planets are all terrestrial planets, and they're very different from our outer planets, where our outer solar system, where those are gaseous. But we'll discuss those later. So let's continue on. They also have very few moons. Like if you compare them to Jupiter, for example, Jupiter has over 60 moons, whereas Earth only has one, which, as we know, plays a very vital role in the stability of Earth's climate. Mars has 2, okay? And as you can see, they're not quite like the as spherical and nicely shaped as our moon is, okay? But Mars has 2, and then Venus and Mercury have none. So very few moons are found in the inner planets. So let's take a look at Mercury. Okay, so Mercury is the smallest and closest to the Sun. It takes 88 Earth days to complete a full revolution, so a whole year is 88 days. Not even a third of what a year is for us. So there's virtually no atmosphere. Now, if you consider the proximity to the Sun, that makes sense, because any potential atmosphere in Mercury would be just incinerated by the heat of the Sun. Now, its rotation, it's had a synchronized rotation with the Sun, so that means that the same face, the same part of that planet is facing the Sun all the time. So you have one planet that's enormously hot, and then you have the other side, of the dark side of the planet, that's incredibly cold. So on the hot side, you have about 430 degrees Celsius, and on the cold, you have about negative 170 Celsius. Now, 2 space probes were sent to investigate Mercury. You have the Mariner, and then you have the Messenger. Okay, something to keep in mind as we move along. So that was Mercury. Now let's take a look at Venus. So Venus, if you were to look at a horizon, that red dotted line you see there is symbolizing our horizon, and then you have the sun that's setting to the west. So at any given night right now, if you look over to the west, you're going to see Venus, a nice little bright star. Venus, besides the moon, is the brightest orbiting body, or not orbiting body per se, but it's the brightest star that you're going to see in the sky. It's the brightest object in the sky besides the moon. And just to its left, you'll see Mars, actually, a tiny little red dot. Okay, so that's Venus. Now, Venus' atmosphere, it is mostly comprised of CO2 gas. It is incredibly thick atmosphere. It's 90 times the pressure of that of Earth. So if we were thinking of even colonizing there, I mean, just the mere fact that it's only carbon dioxide, we would basically be crushed by the pressure. Okay, so it's 90 times the pressure of Earth. Okay, so it's like living like way down deep into the ocean water with that atmospheric pressure. One of the things that contribute to that thick pressure is the numerous volcanoes that Venus has, and they're active volcanoes spewing out carbon dioxide and sulfuric compounds. So not a very hospitable planet. And then of course you have Earth, third rock from the Sun, and I won't really talk too much about Earth since we live here and we know it pretty well. And then we also have other chapters that we dedicate specifically to Earth. So, and then we have Mars. Now, Mars, I'm going to dedicate a separate video for since it's, a fairly popular planet and it's on TV a lot, and there's a lot of talk about possibly taking a colony up there. So we'll dedicate a video to that. So that does it for this video for the inner planets. I hope this helped. Good luck in your studying.